Hello guys, welcome to my channel. Please like and subscribe to my channel. I am going to start the video. Gabriel tucked Issei to bed. Gabriel was going to leave but Issei's hand took hold of hers. Gabriel, I promise I will grow strong so I will be powerful enough so I could protect you, Issei declared. Gabriel smiled at Issei and stroked his hair. Before all that, you go to sleep first. And so, Issei was sleeping peacefully on his bed. In his mind, Drake, that was a close one. If Issei successfully created the spear of the dying dragon, Issei wouldn't be able to handle its power just yet. It would burn his very soul. Or if that didn't kill him, Issei will lose control of that spear. That spear can rip apart this universe, I know. But I am more concerned of Issei than this universe. Really, don't really care for these angels or devils. That spear will attract the enemies God told us before he faded. Issei is not yet ready to defend himself or this world against these creatures. It will be too risky to give him that spear. For now, let's just wait till he reaches 10, no 15 years old. 10 would have been appropriate if he got only one of us. But he got both of us, so 15 it is. It's better to play safe. Or risk burning Issei's soul and condemning him to eternal suffering. Definitely better to play safe. Time skip, 9 years, Issei, 15 years old. It's very dark tonight, eh, Issei? A young man with spiky blonde hair and green eyes said. Issei looked at him and smiled. Well, it seems like you like it. You can easily change the sky to your liking, right Dulio? Issei's hair was now light blonde and he was about 6 feet tall now. Dulio was around 6'1". Dulio shrugged his shoulders and went back to eating his dinner and drinking his wine. They were currently on a cruise ship going to a private island near Japan. It was a resort that only rich people could afford to go to. But actually, it wasn't a resort. It was inhabited by shape-shifting monsters that devour humans and keep the females in cages as their plaything. These monsters are quickly multiplying, using their female prisoners for breeding and pleasure. It wouldn't be long until these monsters are numerous enough to invade the mainland. So the angels decided to take action before the matter gets even worse than before. Sending their 2 jokers to wipe out the monsters and rescuing the prisoners. The cruise ship was a magnificent one, Issei admits. It has its own movie theater, gymnasium, and swimming pool on the top deck. It also has a ballroom inside it. Issei and Dulio were currently at the top deck having dinner while surveying the large, magnificent ocean and feeling the wind hit their faces. The crew was serving them with fine wine and Angus steaks. Dulio gladly devoured the food, while Issei was checking his steak if it was really beef and not human meat. Hey Dulio? Do you think these crewmen are monsters? I was just wondering. Issei asked the eating Dulio, looking at the dark skies. Dulio turned his head towards the smiling waiter who was looking at them. Dulio quickly looked down. I don't know but they're creeping me out. Dulio said. Well, I didn't expect the Joker of Michael to be such a coward. Issei teased. I said they were creeping me out, not scaring me. Dulio whispered at Issei. Issei was wearing a white tuxedo with some red linings on them. While Dulio was wearing a white suit, under the white suit was a golden shirt. Also Dulio had a black bow tie around his neck. They sure were attracting the eyes of a lot of ladies, which bothered Issei and therefore, always kept looking at the ground when they walk around the cruise ship. While Dulio paid them no heed and kept tasting food and muttering, oh, say taste this, it's extremely delicious, I will definitely make the church facilities try this. They were planning to get the monsters off guard. Issei learned from Gabriel how to suppress his powers to make it look like he is a normal human being. Dulio knows how to do this also, so they decided to catch the enemy off guard. Besides, when they decide to attack the enemy directly they might use the human prisoners against them, and risk getting one killed. Issei was trained by Uriel throughout the years in the way of the sword, therefore Issei is very proficient in swordsmanship. Uriel told him he can't always rely on his holy gust of wind, so he asked Uriel to train him in swordsmanship. Issei asked Dragon Albion why he still can't use them, They simply told him to have patience, then laughed, annoying Issei even further. "Oi Issei. I am going to go ahead to our room and take a sleep. I'm exhausted from tasting food all day, so I'll go to sleep early tonight. Good night," Giulio said as he stood up and started to walk to the quarterdeck. Issei sighed. He still didn't know why he can't use even one of his sacred gears. He looked at his half-eaten steak, then looked at Giulio's empty plate. He noticed a little piece of paper inside Giulio's empty glass. Issei looked around him, making sure no one was watching, then looked at what was written in the piece of paper. "They are watching you right now. Act normal and make your way to the engine room. Destroy some parts of it so the trip will be delayed and the crew will gather there to take a look. We'll use this opportunity to sneak in the captain's cabin to gather extra information." Issei stood up and surveyed the area. There were 2 waiters roaming the dining area. The waiter near the entrance of the boat, which Giulio saw a while ago, and the guard holding a sniper on top of the tower in between the swimming pool and the dining area. Issei put on an angry expression on his face and marched his way towards the waiter near the entrance. "Sir, is something wrong?" the waiter asked. "Damn right there is. My food tasted like garbage. I thought your food here was high quality." "Well, my friend, Giulio's cooking is so much better than yours, and his cooking is the worst." Issei glared at the waiter. The waiter yelped, "I'm sorry, sir. I will quickly get you another steak." "Good. I will just go get something in my room. By then I want my food to be there already, prepared and all that," Issei said coldly. The waiter nodded his head multiple times, opening the door for Issei. Issei waited for the door to close before sighing deeply. "I must say your acting is perfect, Issei. Albion's right. You're good at acting, partner." "Haha," Issei sighed. "Albion, Drake, shut up. Really doing that was weird," Issei said, embarrassed. He massaged his face, feeling weird at becoming angry. He heard laughter in his mind, making him sigh again and shake his head. Issei made his way to the engine room. He entered the engine room. There were clanking wheels and turbines. There was also a panel filled with buttons with different color. Issei then kicked the panel hard. Electricity sparked, but it didn't bother Issei and kept kicking the panel. Issei broke off a lever to use it to hit the electrical fuse box. The electricity flowing to him didn't bother him. Instantly, the lights went off and the turbines stopped turning, stopping the cruise ship immediately. Issei caught the slowly stopping wheels and grabbed one. Being an angel, he had of course super strength. He broke one of the wheels off and rammed the turbine with it. Issei quickly sneaked his way towards his room. He entered and saw Giulio in pajamas, seemingly fell down the bed when he was sleeping. Issei's sweat dropped. "I didn't expect you to really sleep." Issei taped Giulio's shoulder. Immediately, Giulio jumped up and hit Issei's face, who was looking down, with his head. Issei staggered back and fell down while holding his nose. "Atatata. Giulio!" Issei screamed threateningly, fixing his nose. Giulio grinned apologetically. "Sorry. That was fast." Issei glared. "Now what?" "I stopped the ship. I destroyed the panel, turbines, and the wheels." Giulio's eyes widened. "I said destroy some parts, not destroy the entire thing." "I didn't. I left the lever safe." Issei smiled. Giulio face-palmed. "Anyways, let's take a look at the documents in the captain's cabin already," Issei said. Giulio sighed. "At least let me change to appropriate clothes." "Geez." Issei and Giulio walked down the corridors of the cruise. They had fake angry expressions on their faces, so the waiters who were going to approach them back off. From time to time, when there's a corridor with no people, they would laugh at each other before continuing their way to the captain's cabin. They finally arrived at the door. Giulio looked around to see no one and signaled Issei to take a peek. Issei looked inside to see no one. Issei destroyed the electrical fuse box, turning the security cameras off. Issei entered the captain's cabin silently. He immediately spotted the table with maps and documents. He took a look at the maps, until he found the map of the island they are going to. The map was very detailed, even showing the locations of the security cameras, and where the prisoners are held. Giulio, who was beside him looking at the documents, took an interesting one. Look, Issei, these says the crew is mixed, humans and monsters. Why will the humans help monsters devour humans? Issei started to think also when footsteps approaching was heard. Giulio pulled Issei down. He suddenly made the sea make a large wave to tilt the ship a little bit. Giulio and Issei heard screaming and the sound of tumbling. Giulio then summoned a series of continuous thunderstrike. Issei and Giulio sprinted to their room, the thunder covering the sound of their footsteps. They reached their room and quickly went in and leaned on the door, both laughing at the intense excitement they felt while running away. Since they suppressed their powers to tirade, they can't run as fast as they actually can, and their stamina got lower, although it didn't take their strength away. Issei wiped his forehead. Damn, I hate this mission. Giulio laughed in reply, also catching his breath. You know, Gabriel would have probably scolded you for saying damn. Giulio said. Issei couldn't help but laugh, imagining Gabriel's angry expression, still beautiful as ever. Issei blushed. Issei, why are you blushing? Oh, don't tell me. You like? Issei's eyes widened. No. I don't like Gabriel. No. Giulio raised one of his eyebrows. I was going to say no one. I wasn't referring to Gabriel in any way. So you were the one who assumed it was Gabriel. So it's Gabriel, huh? Issei blushed even more. You messed up, Issei, messed up real bad. Issei's face got even redder. You guys shut up. Giulio smiled at Issei, knowing why he blushed. I would love to interrogate you further, but I decided to drop it. Giulio teased. Issei was going to respond when the lights turned on. Wow, they really do have skilled engineers to fix a damage like that quickly. Giulio said, amazement in his voice. Issei held the map tightly. They will probably do an inspection to all rooms when they find out someone took the map to the island. I'll keep it inside my tuxedo. Giulio nodded in agreement. He took a look at the peep-hole, and he saw two men in uniform, must be the cruise ship's guards. They knocked on their door. Issei fixed his tuxedo, while Giulio fixed the end of his pants. Giulio was about to open the door when the guards forced the door to open, Giulio barely avoiding the door. The guards stepped in to see Issei on the table, who paid them no attention. The guards walked towards the busy Issei. Giulio gulped, silently, for if they get caught, the whole operation will fail. The guards rudely took what Issei was drawing. Issei looked at them coldly. Issei was drawing the night sky, with the full moon in the upper right corner of the drawing. It was very detailed. The guards nodded their head, admiring the drawing Issei made. When they looked at Issei to return the drawing, Issei looked at them in the eyes, coldly, sending shivers down the guard's back. We're sorry, sir. It's just that is a really good drawing. Well, aren't you nice fellows? You barge in our room, no greetings. Then you take what I'm working on, no permissions. Issei slammed his hand on the table while shouting. The guards looked down. We are very sorry for intruding your room. Please, forgive us. The guards bowed their head in apology and exited the room. Giulio closed the door and locked it, making sure the guards are gone. He laughed. Issei, you're very great at acting. Issei rolled his eyes. We told you so. Giulio laughed at Issei's pissed expression. Issei entered the bathroom. Let's go to sleep, Giulio. We'll have a very long day tomorrow. Issei brushed his teeth. By the time Issei exited the bathroom, Giulio was snoring on the bed. I will certainly not sleep on the bed with that guy. Issei said to himself, amused at how quickly Giulio went to sleep. Issei took one pillow from Giulio's bed. He laid down the ground, just right next to the bed. Good night, Drake. Good night, Albion. Issei greeted them mentally. Good night, Issei. Good night, partner. Issei smiled at the window. Night sky. Good night, Gabriel. The next morning, Issei woke up, sweat all over his body. He had another nightmare of his parents' dead bodies. And a near-to-death Gabriel next to them. I thought you said you would always protect me. A wide-eyed Gabriel said to him while holding out her hand. Partner, it's just a dream. Relax, Issei nodded before breathing deeply, taking in the fresh sea air. Looks like Giulio opened the windows before he probably left to test every food in the breakfast menu. Issei stood up and stretched. He looked out the window. The island was visible now. Issei yawned as he put on a robe on him. Well, here goes nothing. He smiled grimly. He exited the room and took off for the top deck. He felt the eyes of the females on him, making him run for the top deck. He squinted, his eyes because of the sun. When his eyes adjusted with the light, G spotted Giulio waving at him with both arms, a muffin in his mouth. Issei smiled at the carefree attitude of his fellow joker. He sat opposite of Giulio. Immediately the waiters served him with the full English breakfast. "Oh, you, Issei. We're almost there." Issei devoured his eggs first, then sipped the hot coffee served with the meal. "Yep, we're almost there." After finishing his breakfast, he changed into his trunks and took a dip. Giulio watching him while testing the different flavors of ice cream the cruise ship had. Not long after, the ship arrived at the dock. Giulio and Issei packed up. Giulio was wearing a tight white t-shirt and blue khaki shorts. On his head was a brown Panama and sunglasses. Issei was also wearing a tight white shirt but red khaki shorts. Issei wasn't wearing a hat, only sunglasses. Both their six-pack was identifiable because the shirts were tight. The ladies stared at them like they are the last pizza in the whole wide world, as Giulio put it. They were first toured around the island. It was a very magnificent one. The sands were white, the coconut palms were arranged in a similar way, acting like borders separating the sands from the hotel they are going to stay in. The hotel was designed in an exotic way. The roof of the hotel were made of or designed to look like long coconut leaves. The walls were designed to look like the ones in a native home. While it looked like that on the outside, in the inside it was equipped with modern, high-end furniture and electrical appliances. Issei and Giulio were given their keys. Giulio put it in his pocket. The tour continued for at least 30 minutes before they were allowed to roam freely. Giulio and Issei hastily entered their room to plan. Giulio ordered Issei to locate the location of the prisoners. Issei found the location of the prison. It was disguised to act like a cafeteria, but under it, the prisoners are being kept. Issei returned to Giulio and reported, "Issei, this monsters belongs to 7th tier. They will probably start their mischief when the sun is gone. By then we must be ready to act quickly. We first free the prisoners, before we reduce our power suppression to that of a 6th tier. We wipe them off quickly. So we could return to heaven. I miss sleeping on my extra fluffy bed, and I'm sure there is someone you have been missing very badly also. A Seraph, I suppose," Giulio said teasingly, which made Issei glare despite his red face. They waited till nightfall came. Giulio casted spells on the doorknobs and windows of the rooms in the hotel where the monsters won't be able to enter that room. Issei sneaked inside the cafeteria. There were 3 waiters, presumably monsters, guarding the door into the kitchen. Since waiters suspiciously gathered around that door, Issei assumed the passage into the underground prison was inside. He waited for the other diners to leave the cafeteria until he was the only one left. Looks like the monsters decided him to be their first victim and surrounded him. The one with a creepy smile approached him. "Good evening, sir. Since you're the only one left, why don't you come with us? We will show you the secret recipe for the meals." Issei smiled kindly. "Really? Let's get going then." This waiter with the creepy smile started to walk, signaling Issei to follow. Issei discreetly took one table knife. Now Issei knows this is practically harmless, but when infused with holy angelic energy, it could kill a monster. When Issei entered the kitchen, the chef greeted him with a downward slash with the cleaver. Issei sidestepped calmly, sending the chef stumbling out of the kitchen. The 3 waiters from earlier changed appearance, becoming monsters that can send courage out of even the bravest of soldiers to face. Unluckily to them, Issei was no ordinary soldier, he was the Joker of Gabriel. And when something happens to be made of dark magic, meeting an angel, no less of Joker position, is sudden death. Issei quickly moved, even faster than the ghoul's extra-sensitive eyes can catch up to. He appeared behind one, slicing its head in half with the infused table knife, before kicking the other one, sending it flying across the kitchen table at the middle of the room. The force of Issei's kick was enough to break its neck. The single ghoul standing lunged at Issei but got a hard kick in the stomach as a result. The cracking of extra hard rock was heard as the last ghoul fell down the floor, whimpering. Issei threw the table knife with terrifying accuracy that impaled itself through the whimpering ghoul's empty yellow eye. Its wiggling body immediately froze before turning to black dust. The two other corpses also turned to black dust. Issei turned to look at the door at the very corner of the room. It was a heavy metal door. He took a step back before running towards the metal door, jumping and kicking it down easily. The rock around the door broke off like glass and the metal door was sent clanking down the stairs. It revealed a dark and moist staircase. Its walls were damp yellow, with some dried blood spilled all over it. The air was weirdly silent, the smell of blood filled the place. Issei looked back, making sure the monsters were nothing but black dust. Issei took a step down when the kitchen door flew open and there was the scary chef he sent stumbling out of the room. He smirked at the growling chef. "Took you long enough. You won't turn into a ghoul? I'll have you know that going against me in that form is like surrendering," Issei said, unknowingly mocking the chef whose face became more agitated, word by word. The chef crunched down, like he was preparing to lunge at Issei. Issei waited for the chef to change into his ghoul form, but he didn't. Realization and disgust struck Issei. This chef wasn't a ghoul or monster, he was human. His feeling and opinion on the silent only became worse. He growled at the chef. "You are human?" Issei's voice dripping with disbelief. "You would do this to your own?" he asked. The chef laughed cruelly. "Hey, why not?" He shrugged nonchalantly, before grinning evilly at Issei. "If I benefit from the high-class girls I get to play with, I'll gladly help the monsters." Issei growled, gripping his fist. He couldn't believe a human could actually team up with monsters to fulfill his own desire. Issei was surprised when a blinding light filled the room and the chef's scream filled the air. When the light subsided, Issei found the bastard chef lying on the ground in front of him, twitching. Little lightning streaks dancing around his body. Dulia walked up to Issei, a grave expression on his face. His eyes were cold steel, unlike how his eyes were always full of lethargy, and his bored laid-back smile was long gone. His normally happy-go-lucky attitude replaced by a seriously dangerous one. "Issei, I got the other passengers on the boat. Luckily, I saved one girl walking down the coastline from getting term." Dulio glared as the twitching chef. "We better get the prisoners quickly, before the reinforcements come." Issei nodded. He quickly made his way down the staircase. The stench of rust-that blood had entered his nose and he grimaced. He walked a bit faster, the urge of rescuing the females becoming stronger. When he reached the end of the staircase, he barely managed to control his anger and destroy the whole island. The sight disgusted him. It was like a prison, but instead of brutes and hunks with tattoos were females, ages ranging from 45 to 6, wearing shackles and chains, much to Issei's horror. The floor was tainted with blood. Issei's heart broke as he saw a little girl in shackles, hugging her knees and crying beside another woman who was naked, and dead, a large metal spear impaling her. Issei turned to Dulio, who was just as equally horrified as he was. Dulio immediately walked to a nearby cell and opened it, creating a flame, to melt the lock. "Please, no. Not my granddaughter," a voice screamed. Issei immediately located the source of the voice. He gripped his fists tightly as he saw 3 ghouls, taking a little girl away from an old woman who was crying, pleading. Issei quickly ended the 3 ghouls' life before they even knew it. He broke their necks and hugged the little girl. He led the couple to Dulio, who was done with freeing the other prisoners. There was only one girl left when the howling began. This means the ghouls finally found the black dust mixed in sand on the shore. Issei was filled with dread. He'd have to leave the girl or the running females will get massacred before they even get to the cruise ship. Dulio looked at his partner in worry. He knew how hard this choice was to Issei, but it Was necessary, Issei. You have to. Will return for her. Issei took a final glance at the girl before gritting his teeth. Fine. He shouted, running after Dulio, who nodded, his eyes full of pity. The females that escaped successfully made it to the cruise ship. Dulio brought down bolts of lightning that blasted running ghouls to black dust. The ghouls were very fast, like wolves chasing down their prey. But they can't get near the females, as either a bolt of lightning will turn them to dust or Issei will bring them down with his hands and break their necks. I'll hold them off. Get the crews away the shore, Dulio. Issei gave a thumbs up to Dulio, who nodded immediately. His eyes glowed silver, waving his hand towards a nearing crowd of ghouls. He created a small whirlwind, with blades of wind that sliced the unfortunate ghouls that came across its path. Dulio gave Issei a nod before opening his wings and flying towards the cruise ship. Issei smiled at the nearing ghouls. It's payback time. Balance technique, Ascalon Cutlass. Issei screamed out as he held his hands up to the sky. A red and silver magic circle appeared on top of him and a red light filled the whole island, making the rampaging ghouls to stop in confusion and weariness. They growled at the magic circle that radiated the odd light. Issei smiled at them, before pulling a sword out of the magic circle that was rotating slowly. As the sword was pulled out, the magic circle vanished, and so did the light filling the island. As the magic circle closed, a wave of strong wind blew from all directions. The palm across the shores danced with it, and the dust that Dulio had made with the dead ghouls scattered. Issei grinned devilishly, raising the sword across his face, its silver blade glinting under the moonlight. A red aura surrounded Issei. The ghouls walked warily towards their enemy, crouched low. Somehow, their bodies were frozen in fear as Issei sliced his cutlass. A deadly power emitted through its surrounding. The cutlass's hilt was scarlet red. And before the blade, a blood-red dragon's head was there, its mouth open. Out came the silver blade that reflected the eerie light the full moon shone. The dragon's body was twisted throughout the hilt until its tail reached the very end of the cutlass and was wrapped around Issei's forearm. On the boat, Dulio gulped. He used the wind to move the ship since the electrical power the cruise ship had was gone. At the activation of his partner's powers, he looked at the patch of red light on the island from afar, sighing. Issei, he complained, please don't get overboard with your flashy dragon powers. Dulio leaned on the railings of the cruise. He sighed once again, as the sea breeze whipped his face. He knew Issei was furious, after seeing the situation the females were in. He was just afraid that the power Issei will send might reach them. The thought was funny, but if that red deathwave the Joker of Gabriel creates reach him, it'll be troublesome for him to create an ice boat to save these passengers of his. Back on the island, the ghouls ran as far away and as quickly as possible. They tried to run away from this monster. This cutlass-wielding monster that was chasing after them and slicing them in half effortlessly, his smile never fading. Issei slid through the sands perfectly, slicing down one ghoul after another. The ghouls gave up on fighting this god. They were powerless. Run, run. I will show you how it is to be weak, and make you feel the terror the weak have when the strong is on them, Issei said. He jumped on the sand, leaving sand scattering as he dashed towards another ghoul, slicing it in half, before dashing towards the nearest one again. The ghouls' incredible numbers decreased quickly as Issei started his rampage. Issei stopped his rampage as he saw a large shadow of a man with 10 wings. Issei instinctively rolled away, just in time to dodge multiple light spears that exploded, making him jump away. Impressive. A man said. Issei quickly deflected another light spear away. He recognized the man as Gabriel, one of the fallen angels. Issei pointed his cutlass against the fallen angel. Are you the one behind this? He asked. Gabriel laughed. You dare point a sword against me, huh, angel? You are lucky you're important to Seraph Gabi, and I kinda like you, also, or you'd be dead. He paused, looking at Issei straight in the eye, but yes, I am the man behind this. Issei shook with rage. He remembered the scene when he got down the staircase, remembering the sufferings of the female that we used as playthings. He gritted his teeth, crouching down, getting ready to slice the fallen angel in half. You bastard! He screamed as he jumped up, making a slice at Gabriel, whose eyes were wide in the speed Issei moved. Impressive, indeed, he complimented, before flying away from the raging angel. Issei opened his own sets of wings, 10 pure white wings that shone in the dark night. Magic technique, Ascalon Kopesh. Issei screamed aloud. A magic circle appeared above him once again. Although the symbols were different, Gabriel recognized some of the runes as Egyptian while the others are mysterious, only being seen by him just now. He looked on as the magic circle rotated and Issei inserted his cutlass into the magic circle before pulling it, the sword brand new in form. Its hilt was slightly curved, this time, its hilt was silver, with the silver dragon's head opened. Out came the red blade that pulsed with power, exciting Gabriel even more. Gabriel flew away, feeling the pain the radiated power gave him. What's this? Your death. Issei said, the tail of the silver dragon wrapping around his arm. He brought his hand up to the sky, the pulsing of the sword becoming quicker before bringing it down, creating a large arc of destruction that sliced its way. The ghouls that were too enamored with the wave, were immediately turned to dust. The water from the shore retreated back to the ocean and the trees were uprooted. The hotel that was built was reduced to ashes. Gabriel narrowly dodged the red wave of destruction. He stared in awe as the wave sliced through the forest like some kind of vacuum cleaner. It even sliced the mountain in half. Gabriel looked at his arm in surprise, or where it used to be. His arm must have disintegrated from being too near. He laughed, amused. Wow, so you did grow up strong. He shook his head, but even that won't be enough to defeat me, Issei-chan. He said playfully. Issei growled. He knew Gabriel was right. His vision was blurry now. And his head was spinning. His arms were sloppy and his chest felt like breaking. He could barely breathe and his grip was loosening. He must have overused his energy. Issei fell down the ground. Gabriel laughed at this, ha ha ha. You're mine now. I don't think so. Before Gabriel registered what he heard, he was sent flying to the forest as a lightning bolt blasted him, hitting his chest. Dulio immediately picked Issei up. You idiot. Using your energy up like that. Do you have a death wish? He asked. But he was given a snore as an answer. The hard expression on Dulio's face softened, and a smile formed across his face. He shook his head. Let's go home, Issei. The ghouls started attacking again, but Dulio noticed this and smiled. He stood up, waving his hand. This time, a huge wave, defeating those of a tsunami in terms of height, appeared from the shore and charged forward. It parted against Dulio and combined when they were past the angel, charging, the approaching, or rather, retreating.